This is 89.7 FM. Broadcasting live 24 hours a day. 89.7 FM.
RMR 9.7 FM. We just came from giving you a song right there by Bawa, a song called I'm a Flirt. And just before that, we gave you a song by Beeman featuring Lady So, a song called My World. This is the Business Buzz right here on RMR 9.7 FM. And we just came from giving you our business rap with Ken Swettenham. And right now, it's time for us to give you our real people, real careers. And we're joined in studio today by our man. We have Dingaan Booi. How are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Today, you know, this is a man who's no stranger to our studios, but today he is wearing the hat of, before I give you a title, can we say that you guys are involved in social entrepreneurship?
Definitely so.
We can say that. Okay, and he's here on behalf of Kickstart Impact. They are an initiative born out of the Rhodes Business School's PDEM course. And we have him in studio just to give us a bit of a rundown on, how that's been going, what they're doing, and some of the progress that they've made. So, I think just as a good point of departure,
yes,
before you tell us what you guys actually do, how do you, as your group, define social entrepreneurship?
Well, social entrepreneurship is the idea that most people see business as a bottom line initiative.
Yeah.
So it's about profit. Social entrepreneurship is more, how do I positively impact my community while I'm still being able to create profit,
Yeah.
and then redirect it into my community, still keeping your business, inverted commas, afloat in
Yeah.
terms of covering your expenses, your overheads, and such things.
Okay. So, with that in mind, as a good point of departure, can you just tell us how exactly you guys have gone about, your initiative?
All right. So the first major element to it is that since it is pretty much based on an MPO model, non-profit,
Yeah.
we were cash strapped, if that makes sense. So we had to follow a very lean startup model in terms of you cut expenses to the bare skeleton.
Yeah.
And then what we did is we engaged corporates. So we're looking at your major corporations, your large businesses, both in the Grahamstown community and in the country as a whole.
Yeah.
Just garnering support in terms of like materials and aid that we needed in order to fulfill our actual core purpose.
Yeah.
Then obviously it was also about establishing relationships now, because being a community-based initiative, you need buy-in from the community in order for you to function there. So it was a lot about building those relationships and setting down the groundwork for us to actually go out and start operating.
Okay. And what I think more than anything else, what was your motivation to go sort of the social entrepreneurship route as opposed to, the normal profit motive, let's make as much money as we want for ourselves, etc.?
All right, I think we have a very diverse group of individuals in our PDM group.
Yeah.
And a lot of us, since we are on Postgrad, have been in Grahamstown for 4 years or more.
Yeah.
And we've been positively impacted by the community of Grahamstown. And we understand the relationship that Rhodes students to be more than just within this space.
Yeah.
You live as a result of this community. This community is the lifeblood of Rhodes University. So this was our opportunity to give back and to do something in return for the community rather than just take.
Yeah, I understand that one. It's very different because I actually did this course, and up until now I hadn't really seen anyone taking that particular business model, so it's been a very interesting one. So from that, I'd be interested to know, what has the experience been so far, because I'm sure you have encountered a number of questions about what is it exactly you're trying to achieve. So how's been the experience so far?
It's been very challenging. I will not lie to you. It's been very challenging, and the reason why I say it's been very challenging is, as you've said, it's not common for people to choose a non-profit, and it comes with a lot of strings. In terms of, there's a difference between your idea of community engagement and the idea of charity. And we were going more the idea of community engagement, building relationships. And that in and of itself created a lot of resistance, if that makes sense. In the sense that when you build relationships, a PDM project happens over the period of about a year. Once you establish those relationships, there needs to be a sense of continuity. So that's why we started building relationships with your assumption development centers and other major shareholders or stakeholders like Rhodes, so that when we go out into the community, we know that even once the, let's say, founders of Kickstart have gone, that those relationships will still be nurtured and maintained, and that those people in the community that were impacted will continue to be impacted or positively gain from the relationship.
So is this something that you see yourselves being able to do beyond the PDM course?
Definitely so. I mean, there are 2 members so far that will be remaining at Rhodes University for the upcoming year, and we have every intention to continue the project. The only difference is that we've thought of actually, more than it now being an MPO model, because it was for a business school project, turning it into society within Rhodes University. Because we also got a lot of buy-in from our fellow classmates and other people in the community, other students of Rhodes University, saying, we like what you're doing. How can we get involved?
Okay. And this, for me, one of the things that I was wondering about when I did my research about what you're doing is, how do you answer the question of how is it different from what, let's say, other NPOs are doing, right? Or what the Rhodes University Community Engagement Office is doing, or what societies, you said you want to possibly turn it into a society. Yet you've got other societies on campus. I can think of Enactus off the top of my head, etc. Like, what's the differentiating factor, if I could ask that?
I think it's because we're operating within a niche, right? We are operating on a 3-tier model in terms of engagement. So it's not any particular point, or there's not one thing that we're trying to do. So our 3 pillars are access to education, sanitation, and I'm trying to think of the third one. This is awkward. It's sanitation, access to education, and leadership. Right? And as a organization, we believe that one without the other is like a chair with only 2 legs.
I like that.
So, we believe that in order for us to positively impact, all 3 of these must be met, and they must be done in such a way that they link for one purpose, which is the betterment of the child, or the betterment of the life of a child in the Grahamstown East community.
What challenges? Because I can imagine you're operating within a niche. You've identified your different areas. What have been the challenges so far?
I think the biggest challenge we've had is making assumptions. It's the idea of, you go into a space and you think you know the need within a community, only to realize later that no,
it's not what we thought.
Exactly. And it's been great that since we are part of the business school, we've been taught a lot of practical things like pivoting, moving away from your original idea and catering it towards the needs of your consumer base, or your area of impact specifically for an MPO. So that was our first major hurdle, which we, I think, have now ironed out for the most part. Then our second is access to resources. Since we're not profit driven, it's much more difficult to get money in. So it's like something we had to add in a funding model in order to recuperate funds that we ended up using. And even when you look at corporates are they're great for getting resources, they're great for getting funding, but there needs to be a mutually beneficial relationship between you and the corporate. Corporates aren't just going to give you money, or they're not just going to give you materials. There needs to be some type of incentivization on your part to them, so that they feel like the relationship is also to their benefit, which has again been a major hurdle. But again, we've had some major corporates, all major in our terms, come through and be very aidful, helpful in the process.
Okay, it sounds like there's a lot that's been going on, and I like the fact that you also brought out the fact that you're also using some of the things that you've been taught in class.
Yeah.
Right. How useful because I know that a lot of the time people, struggle to find this balance between what you're taught in school and what actually happens in the real world. So how's been your experience with that? Like, is it helpful?
You know what?
Yeah.
I went through that experience when my undergrad did a Bachelor of the Arts.
Yeah.
And you ask yourself, I'm learning about this, what is it going to do for me? However, right now, so far in the year, I've learned a lot, number one.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff has practically come to pass.
Okay.
In the sense that when you engage corporates, there are certain things that you learn in a textbook that now play themselves out. Like the idea of CSI, what is CSI? A person asking you a question of my social responsibility or my social corporate responsibility grant has been expended. And if you don't know what that is,
then it's late.
You're stuck for a loop, you understand?
Yeah.
And then also just things like, as I mentioned, pivoting the idea of a lean startup. Lean startup is literally so critical for anyone that wants to go into an entrepreneurial space.
Yeah.
Because when you go to a bank and you think they're going to give you money, it's not that easy. Things like business plans, they're critical when approaching a potential investor, or even just selling your idea to the next person. Because once you know what you're doing, it's easy to communicate it and get buy-in from the next person.
Okay. I really like that, because at least you can see that the relationship between theory and practice is, it's somewhere there. Something else that you also brought up with, I noted just now, you said that your group is made up of a number of diverse individuals.
Yes.
Right. So how have those dynamics been? Because I think that's one of the challenges, whether it's group work and assignment or just starting a business with a group of people. You have to find a way to tame the different characters so that everyone is focused towards the same goal. So how have you guys sort of gone about meshing these different people, characters, intellects, interests and all that, just so that you guys can push forward?
Well, working in a group is always a challenging yet rewarding task, in the sense that because we are such a diverse group of individuals, our first thing was identifying our area of expertise, in inverted commas.
Yeah.
Everyone's in a group has a particular set of skills, a set of competencies, and it's best that you, instead of blocking a creative individual by placing them into a position where they can't exercise their creativity, is rather allocate tasks and duties to that person where they can flourish within their own space. And then having group input. So it's the idea of, you can pilot the project, or you can pilot this component of the work, and then we just come in and we refine as a collective. Also, we are a very structured organization. Like, we have set roles and responsibilities. So that also negates a lot of the tension where someone feels like you're undermining my ability to do my job. Everyone knows what they need to do, and then we have a CEO who then, reins us all in when we are deviating off track.
Okay. I actually like that, because I think, practically, when you're starting a business, for me personally, I found that people usually tend to fail when it comes to working with different people.
Yeah.
Right. But unfortunately, you're going to work with people either way, whether it's people internally in the business or externally, like service providers, clients, corporates, so it's a necessary skill. Last two things very quickly.
Yes.
First one, people that are interested in getting to know more about what you guys are doing, or getting involved, possibly pledging, or giving off of their time, donating or making themselves available, how can they get in touch with you?
Okay, fantastic. We are pretty much on all the social media platforms. You can find us on Facebook at Kickstart Impact. You can also find us on Instagram. Again, it's simply at Kickstart Impact. You can find us on Twitter at Kickstart Impact.
Yeah.
And then if you would like to send us official business in terms of, if you'd like to get involved, the easiest means of direct communication would be our email address, which you can find on all our social media platforms, but also it's just kickstartimpact@gmail.com. We also have a crude website, which is in its development phase.
Why are we calling it a crude website?
It's still in its development phase,
Yeah.
so it's not refined yet.
Yeah.
But you can find it as a link on our Facebook page as well.
Okay. And then the last thing is, for you, highlights for the year?
Highlights for the year. My biggest highlight was when we had a activation. Activations are projects within the community.
Yeah.
At Makana Primary School, we met a group of about 60 to 90 students where we gave a leadership and anti-bullying talk. And just the positive reception that we got from the kids and the actual engagement that they actually were hungry to find out more. They wanted to know more. And it just gave us this reward, a non-tangible reward, but a reward knowing that in what we're doing, we're actually making a difference in our community.
Yeah.
And that there is so much more that can still be done.
Okay. And I like the fact that because most of the time when someone refers to an activation in business, it's like a marketing opportunity.
Yes.
Or where people come and get to know about the product. But for you, it's that opportunity to actually engage with the community. That's
Yeah.
what you guys are defining as an activation. So it's an interesting take. I like that. Big thank you to Dingaan for coming through. He is coming in on behalf of Kickstart Impact. They are a social entrepreneurship venture born out of the Rhodes Business School PDEM class. I'm very interested to see, how this project is gonna go on, especially after this year, because I honestly think that there's potential, especially with the right relationships in place, that
Yeah.
you can have this thing there and it continues benefiting, the community. And then I also like the fact, as I said before, the fact that you've taken this particular business model, right? Because most of the time people are doing, the conventional, entrepreneurship route. So it's a good one from there. So yes, big thank you to them. As I said, you can find them on all social media. That's at Kickstart Impact. So that's it. We're going to be playing you one track and then we'll be back on the other side of this as we close out the show with our Ever Wondered. To keep it locked, this is Grahamstown's youth station, Rhodes.
89.7 FM.